Master, you spoke to me of a transformation deeper than simply understanding the laws of the universe. What does this transformation mean?
Understanding the harmony of the cosmos is an important step, but the ancient sages knew it was not enough. The history of initiatic traditions shows that true knowledge does not consist only of observing the external world. It also consists of transforming the human being themselves. This is why almost all initiatic traditions speak of a powerful symbol, death and rebirth. This idea may seem strange at first, yet it appears in many cultures and across different periods of history. In ancient Egypt, for example, the myth of the god Osiris tells that he was betrayed, killed, and dismembered before being reconstituted and brought back to life. For the Egyptian priests, this narrative was not just a mythological story, it represented a symbol of spiritual transformation. According to them, the human being had to pass through a form of symbolic death to be reborn into a higher understanding of existence.
So this death does not represent physical death?
No, it represents the end of an old way of seeing the world. The ancient initiates knew that man is often attached to his illusions, his fears, and his habits. As long as these illusions dominate his mind, it is difficult for him to perceive a deeper reality. Initiatic death thus symbolizes the disappearance of these illusions. This idea also appears in the rites of Freemasonry, where the third degree is associated with the figure of the master. In traditional Masonic rituals, the initiate undergoes a symbolic ordeal representing death and rebirth. This ceremony serves as a reminder that true knowledge requires an inner change. But Freemasonry is not the only tradition to use this symbol. In ancient Greece, initiates participated in the Eleusinian mysteries, sacred rites that lasted for over 1,000 years. Participants underwent a symbolic experience representing a descent into darkness, followed by a luminous revelation. Historians believe these rites also represented a transformation of consciousness. In Neoplatonic philosophy, developed by thinkers like Plotinus, inner transformation was also a central theme. Plotinus taught that the human soul must progressively detach itself from the illusions of the material world to rediscover its unity with the higher principle of the universe. This idea is also found in certain mystical traditions of Christianity. Mystics often spoke of the need to die to the old man to be reborn into a deeper spiritual life. In mystical Islam, particularly among Sufi masters, a similar expression was used, "Die before you die." This phrase meant that man must abandon his ego and his illusions before reaching a deeper understanding of reality.
Why do so many traditions use the same symbol?
Because they describe a universal human experience. When a man begins to seek the truth, he often discovers that his old certainties no longer hold. The beliefs he considered obvious begin to crack. This moment can be destabilizing. That is why initiatic traditions chose to use the symbol of death. It represents the disappearance of an old vision of the world. But this symbolic death is always followed by a rebirth. In many traditions, rebirth is associated with light. Initiates often speak of illumination, revelation, or awakening. This does not mean the initiate immediately becomes a perfect sage. It simply means they begin to perceive reality from a new angle.
Is this why we speak of the degree of master?
Yes. The master is not the one who knows everything. He is the one who has understood that inner transformation is the key to the initiatic path. In the tradition of medieval builders, the master was the one who knew the art of constructing a complete edifice. Symbolically, this represents the human being who begins to build his own inner temple. This idea also appears in Hermetic traditions. Hermetic philosophers taught that the transformation of man was comparable to a work of transformation. They often used images drawn from alchemy, where metals are purified and transformed to reach a more perfect form. But these symbols should not be taken only literally. They represent, above all, an inner transformation.
So after observing the world and understanding its laws, the initiate must transform himself.
Exactly. The first 3 degrees of the initiatic path thus represent 3 fundamental stages. The first degree corresponds to the awakening of consciousness. The second degree corresponds to the discovery of the harmony of the universe. The third degree corresponds to inner transformation. These 3 stages form the foundation of the initiatic path in many traditions, but they represent only the beginning. For after this first transformation, the initiate discovers that traditions around the world have preserved fragments of a very ancient wisdom,
So the traditions of the world are linked to one another?
That is what many researchers have begun to notice over the centuries. When we compare the myths, symbols, and teachings of different civilizations, we often discover surprising resemblances. The ancient Egyptians, Greek philosophers, Eastern mystics, and sages of many cultures seem to have explored similar questions. Understanding these traditions and their symbols constitutes the next stage of the initiatic path. For once the initiate has crossed the first 3 doors, he begins a journey through the history of humanity's mysteries, and this journey begins at the 4th degree. The question is therefore simple. Are you ready to pursue this path and discover what ancient civilizations transmitted through their temples, their myths, and their initiatic schools? Do you wish to cross the 4th door and enter the adventure of the world's great traditions?